Hey, what's up guys? I want to welcome you back to my channel, and for those of you who this is your first time, I want to welcome you to my channel. Go ahead and click that red subscribe button right down below so you can subscribe to my channel. It's a big plus every time you support me and I see my supporters. It motivates me to make more videos like this. And go ahead and hit that bell button so you can receive post notifications every time I upload a new video. So today I'm going to take you through a timeline of how it is that I got involved with drugs. I'm going to take you from the beginning. So we have to go back. It is 2018 currently, so we are going to go back a whole 19 years. So I'm gonna I'm not gonna name names in this video because this video is all about me. And I am talking about my experiences, and I don't want to involve anybody else in this video. So I will just make up something to reference to them. So, the first time I had alcohol, it was like Budweiser used to make, I don't know if they still make them because I haven't drank in so long, but they used to make these little like 4-ounce beer cans. And I remember that I was at a party of a third cousin of mine on my mother's side of the family, and it was me and my first cousins, second cousins, third cousins, fourth cousins, all from my mom's side of the family. We were having this huge party, and I think it was in the Bronx, New York. For those of you who don't know, I originally am from New York, born and raised, and left when I was about 13, going on 14, which is an interesting story in and of itself, and some of that will come into play in this video. But I'm not going to make it about that. So, I remember that my second cousin had, which is my grandmother's sister's son, took a beer can, which was a little 4-ounce Budweiser can, and we went into a bedroom, and it was me, him, and maybe another cousin of mine was there, and we were all taking sips of this beer, and I was polluted. I must have been, I don't know, maybe 10 years old, 9 years old, and I was just gone. Now let's go a little further. I'm a teenager. Now I'm a preteen, probably 12 years old, going on 13. And I tried marijuana with my cousin, with my first cousin. And and it just didn't take, you know, it made me feel super weird. And I did not like it at all. So one day my mom takes me to work with her because she worked for she worked for the city of New York in a hospital. I just don't want to say what she was doing or whatever. But anyway, one day she took me to work, and I was in her office, and I decided that I was going to leave her office and go wandering around. This time it was no big secret that a lot of those women were doing cocaine, they were smoking hash, they were drinking weird drinks in their drink while they were, transcribing all these medical records. So I go into the cabinet of above one lady's cubicle, and I find these things that look like tea bags. Well, I smell them, and I smell them, and I smell them, and they smelled so close to marijuana. So I took them, and I put them in my underwear, and I remember thinking, I scored big time. I scored some drugs. Heavy, you know? And the first thing that popped into my mind was, this must be hash. You know, it's not weed. It has to be hash. So, when I opened, I remember running to the bathroom, right, which was like maybe 2 feet away from my mother's office. And when I go into the bathroom, I take one of these little tea bag things that I found, and I wish I had a tea bag to show you because it didn't look like a tea bag. It looked like a square, but it was definitely tea bag material, and it was sealed at all ends of the square. So what I did was I gently opened it, you know, I gently tore it, and I smelled it, and it smelled like grass. And I was like, this is hash. Now, mind you, I'm a preteen. I'm still a little kid. I don't know what the hell it is that I'm smelling. For all I know, it could have been tea. It could have been a special kind of tea. But for me, I was like, no, it's hash. I know it's hash. So I took like 9 of these, I think, and I wrapped them up in toilet paper, put them in my underwear. went back to my mother's office, stayed with my mother, made some phone calls from her office phone and whatnot, and then we left. Okay, went home, and I had some joint paper from the time that I tried marijuana with my first cousin initially, and you know, I dug that up, and I got the hash, or what I thought was hash, and I put it in the paper, and I roll it up, and I go to smoke it. Got me lit. It was hash. I scored some hash. And man, if I only was that type of person to know drug addicts or something, I would have definitely sold it. Because it made me so loony. It made me out of my mind. And it was worse than the marijuana. As marijuana, you know, it's like a downer. Hash is supposed to be a downer. Hash, to me, it affected me like a downing psychedelic type of thing, right? So anyway, I knew it wasn't for me, and I never touched it again. I don't even remember where I put it. I put it somewhere in my closet, and I never touched it again. I decided it was too much for me to handle. So fast forward, 13 years old. When I was turned 12, I graduated and I went into high school. I was the youngest person in high school. I turned 13 in high school. It was a private high school that I went. I couldn't pay the money back, so I couldn't go to school, so I dropped out. And I went to a public high school, which was like where my high school was like 1,300 people. This school had like 5,000 people. And I was so lost and so deterred. But the week that I got there, my other friend, she was not my best friend. She was a girl that I went to grammar school with. She died in a car accident. It was just so much. I was like, oh my God, it is now. So I like to get this job. I was a receptionist for a radiology place in New York. And I paid $400 to this girl that I was working with for her Chevy Cavalier, which had like 15 different colors, right? But it was my car. I got the car, and we went driving around one night. We picked up this guy, and before you knew it, this straight guy became my boyfriend, right? So then after I met him, I started with the alcohol. First it was social. Every time we hung out, which was every day, we would drink. And then that's how I was introduced really to the drinking constantly. We went from social drinking to just drinking every time we saw each other. So fast forward, I go to Florida. When I go to Florida, a lot of drama happens where I get separated and I get isolated by myself. I wind up living in an abandoned funeral home. I literally put my face where blood and formaldehyde would be drained to the floor and collected and stuff like that. So yeah, there was this particular Subway I used to eat out of this green dumpster. I used to take their sandwiches, their deli meats, and then there was a Dunkin' Donuts that was a quarter down the road from them, and they used to put coffee grounds on their donuts. But because they weren't that busy, they threw out so many donuts in this black garbage bag that I was able to eat them, right? So I was on a sugar high until all night. I was on a sugar high. So I slept during the day, and I was on a sugar high at night. When I first got there, I did go to the soup kitchens and things like that, and that's where I met a lot of seedy people. And like I said, I was really scared of drugs, so I didn't want to do them. So I somehow managed to get myself out of the homeless situation. I was able to go back to school. I graduated high school. I went into college. I graduated, and I was recruited to be a salesperson. After I was so good that the vice president of sales originally hired me, and I became director of reseller sales. I essentially took the vice president of sales his job, but because I was so young, I was 20 years old at that time, they didn't want to call me a vice president, so they called me a director, so it would make more sense, I guess, to them. And I purchased a house, and I had some stresses. There was a lot of things going on in my life, and a lot of people that I needed to help, like my mom and my little brothers and stuff like that. So anyway, let's fast forward. I meet this guy, and we'll just call he's half Irish, half French. So I meet this guy. He loves to smoke weed. He smokes weed all the time, morning, noon, and night. I went from smoking 2 joints, 3 joints after work to smoking quarter bags, half bags. And then it just went bad from there with the marijuana. And I was like, oh, I cannot do this. I hate these fucking downers. So then I said to myself, oh, people who work, I used to watch all these TV shows where people who work, they come home and they have a glass of wine or they have a beer or whatever. And I was like, oh, I want to be like that. I want to be bougie like that. I want to come home from my office and my fancy job in my fancy car, and I want to go and have a bottle of wine, right? So I used to have 1 glass, 2 glasses, 4 glasses. 1 bottle of wine is good for 4 glasses, okay? I used to have the whole bottle, and then 1 bottle turned to 2 bottles, turned to 3 bottles. So I was losing my mind. At work, they were downsizing. They were having money problems. I gave my job up so that I could save 6 jobs. I took the payout that they gave me, and I went with my mother, my boyfriend, and my 2 brothers in my house, and I went to Orlando, a bigger city. I met another guy, was introduced to cocaine through the guy that I met in Orlando, right? So then I was feeding a cocaine habit that I could not afford because my money was running out. The money that I was paid out to leave the company, of course, and and so what are you going to do? Oh, and I was offered a room at one point in his apartment. So yeah, I started prostituting to feed a cocaine habit / sometimes marijuana habit, definitely a drinking habit, and yeah, and to pay the room rent. And mind you, I still have my house. I could still run back home. I still have my boyfriend waiting for me at home. I still have my mom that I moved into my house waiting for me. And I had my little brothers. It was a 1, 2, 3 bedroom house. Yeah, with like 2 1/4 acres. So, I used to go to the clubs. I'm sure if you're gay and you're watching this video and you know Florida, you've heard of the Parliament House. I used to go to the Parliament House on Mondays, Fridays, and Saturdays, and then we used to go to this lesbian place on Thursdays and Wednesdays, and then Sundays we used to rest. Tuesdays sometimes we rested, and it was just drugs. It was cocaine, marijuana, and lots of alcohol, and I just couldn't stop. I was doing so much cocaine that I was bleeding out of my nose. So I met, through all that partying, I met another guy. This guy, while I was in the club and stuff, and we kind of got into each other. I went up to see his family, so I had maybe 2 weeks of a cool down period without any drugs or alcohol. Then, come to find out, his father was an alcoholic, so I started drinking again once they got to know me. So it was like 2 weeks of a cool down period, then 2 weeks of a go hard period, right? Then I left there, and I decided to go move to Nevada. That's right, I used to live in Las Vegas, folks. I managed some restaurants over there, and while I was there, I used to party and party hard with my bosses. I used to do so much cocaine. The cocaine that they sell out there, sometimes it comes in the baggies, sometimes it comes in these brown or amber looking bottles with black tops. Oh yeah, so anyway, I used to party with my bosses, and I'm talking about every single night. We used to go to the hookah lounges, smoke some hookah. Then we used to drink every kind of drink you could imagine while we were on duty and while we were off duty. And then we used to do the cocaine, and we used to do Vicodin. If the Vicodin wasn't available, we would do the Percocets. So I was doing all that stuff, and it got so bad. I was going for a promotion. I was taking a drug test. I failed the drug test. I got fired. Went to another job. I couldn't handle the pressure, and I was drinking every night. They caught me drinking on camera. I got fired. And I was doing cocaine, by the way. But they didn't catch me doing that. But I was, zooted out of my mind. So I met this girl while I was managing one of these restaurants, and she used to smoke meth. She would act so hyped up, and she would just do her job so good and so fast. She got me into smoking meth. So at this point, I was unemployed. I think I was very unemployable. I went from living in a luxury when I first got to Vegas. I used to live in a weekly apartment. From a weekly apartment, I went to a luxury apartment. That's how well I was doing. And then from that luxury apartment, I went to a weekly apartment. Then from that weekly apartment, I went to sleeping on this girl's couch. The only reason why she had a couch and why she had a home was because she had a husband who was working. So, while her and I were smoking meth like fucking crazy, her husband was working. Then her husband got to the point where he was like, you know what, this is fucking crazy. I'm not supporting the two of you. Like, you guys are first of all, I'm not married to you, and second of all, I'm married to you, and we have kids together. Like, you got to get your shit together. So she would get very violent. So, she was getting this meth from this lady who she should be on an episode of fucking Hoarders. This fucking lady, when you went to her house and she opened the door, she only had a path, a very little narrow path that led to her bedroom, her kids' room, bathroom, a couch, and the kitchen. But it was a path, literally path. Her carport was filled with stuff, and then she had to put a fence to keep the stuff at bay. And her house was filled from floor to ceiling of magazines and pictures, and old pictures of herself were hanging everywhere. And her kids literally had to jump on their bed. They had this bunk beds, and she had a big queen size bed, and she literally had to jump on it to get on it. You have to jump to the couch. Like, it was so fucking crazy. And we used to go in there and we used to smoke meth. And I was smoking so much meth, the little bit of money that I did save. No, I saved a good amount of money. And I'm talking about like over $20,000. It was going quickly. So I called my cousin, I called my mom, I confessed to them what I was doing. They got me a plane ticket. They purchased the plane ticket electronically, and all I had to do was go over there and show up with my driver's license, and they would let me on the plane. I got on the plane and I came to my mom's house, and my mom came to my rescue to clean me up and help sober me up, which was such a good idea. When I got to my mom's house, they spent like 3 months of straight sleeping on the couch and on my brother's bed, and then in the spare bedroom. And then once that happened, I met somebody over here. They were doing drag and introduced me to, they had a best friend who reintroduced me to alcohol. Oh boy, just can't escape it, right? So, we were drinking alcohol like when the bottle was empty, we would go and get another bottle. Like, that's how much we were drinking. Then I discovered those $32-ounce cans of beers over where my mother lived, and I was drinking that plus the alcohol. Then I was smoking Newports on top of that. Then I was smoking marijuana because they used to get into smoking marijuana. And then to top it off, they also like to do the cocaine. So I was back doing that. So I was back doing alcohol. I was back smoking cigarettes. I was back I got into cigarettes. I was doing the cocaine. I was doing the marijuana again that I fucking hate. And I was doing a couple of other things, right? So whatever it is that I mentioned, I was doing it. So I wasn't staying clean. And I never went to a detox. I never went to a sober house. I never went to a halfway house or anything like that. I was fortunate enough to try to kick it on my own. And when I decided to kick it on my own, I really kick it on my own. So, fast forward, I meet somebody else. And this person is lunatic. So I spent like 2 or 3 years with this person, and no, let me go back. So that person that had a friend that they were doing drag, and they had a friend who reintroduced me to all these drugs. At one point, they disassociated themselves with each other, and this person and I, actually, the person that was doing drag, we got married. And after we got married, his father was a crack smoker. I had no idea. They were into crack, they were into ecstasy pills, they were into MDMH or whatever the hell you call it, and they were into acid. Well, I got introduced to all of that because I got introduced to the father, and the father liked me. So we moved in with the father, and that's what we started doing. Lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of MDA or MDMH or whatever the fuck you call it. We started doing a lot of those acid tabs. I don't even know how many ecstasy pills I purchased. At this time, I was also drinking every night. We were even stealing beer from grocery stores. Like, it was really, really bad. And some of this funding was because I was on unemployment, just so you are aware of where the money source is coming in at this time. So it's not prostitution, it's unemployment. So, let's see. Okay, so then I decide this marriage is not working. I want to clean myself up. I clean myself up. I start managing again. I start doing good. I'm working 16-hour days. I'm giving the person that is supposed to be my fiance, we're not married at this point, my car so that he can go get groceries and go to school and all this stuff. Instead of getting groceries and going to school, what is he doing? He's on chat sites like MySpace, and he's on gay.com and all these little things that I didn't bother checking or knowing about, and he's having sex with like 10 people a day. So I get into the drinking again because I just don't know how to handle it. So I'm drinking again, and then I get into the cocaine because I got a cocaine connect, which is the crack connect. And then he and I try to work it out, and we get heavily into the crack and into the drinking. So I decided I can't do this anymore. I gotta go. And I don't forgive you for the things that you've done. Every time I look at you, I get repulsed. So I filed for divorce the first time. It did not go through because we didn't show up. I filed divorce for the second time. I had to wait over a year, and I was finally divorced and happy as hell, and I was in a new relationship. That's with the boyfriend that you see and you know now. But right before the relationship with my current boyfriend that you see now, I was just hanging out, chilling, being by myself. I met someone else through the Grindr app, which was the worst mistake of my life. I'm talking about it was absolute lunacy. And we wound up breaking it off. Let's just say that. There was a lot of crack smoking during that relationship. I got him into the crack smoking because I used to smoke crack rolled up in cigars, not by the pipe. So anyway, I got him into smoking crack, or you could say I introduced him into that, but it was just absolute lunacy, to say the least. I don't even want to spend time on that relationship. And so we broke up, right? He left my house twice, and the second time that he left my house, I was like, thank God, goodbye, I'm ready for you to leave, and I'm done. Don't come back. Thank you, thank you. He wanted to come back after a while, like he was teaching me some kind of lesson. And the lesson he taught me was, don't take somebody back the second time. When they leave the first time, tell them deuces and keep it moving. So anyway, remember that there was crack smoking during that relationship. Well, I started hanging out with his cousin. His cousin was sniffing heroin. And so I was like, oh, I've never done that. I wonder what that does to you. So he was like, oh, let me show you. But he was showing me because he liked me. He wasn't showing me because he wanted to be my friend. He kept saying he wanted to be my friend, but what he really wanted to do was have sex with me. And I didn't know that because I was just in friend mode at the time. So he introduced me to sniffing heroin. And I was like, oh, wow, that's great. It made me feel so euphoric. And somebody else told me that he wanted to be in a relationship with me, and I just did not float that way because he was already intermingled with my ex's family, and I just thought that was weird to get. So I didn't want to fucking do it. They were just all loonies. So I decided not to go that route. So, and plus the guy was into like orgies and foursomes and smoking meth and doing all this shit. And I did not want to go that route. And I am not the orgy, group sex, foursome, threesome type of person. But I'm not going to involve myself in that situation. I'm worth more than that. Move on to my current. So what happens is that I was trying to deter my current from... Let me back up a little bit. Before I got with the lunatic relationship, after my marriage, when I knew it was over, I turned heavily into drinking and doing cocaine again. I had a friend of mine who had a cocaine connect and a cocaine problem, might I add, and he used to do cocaine morning, noon, and night. And I used to live down the street from a liquor store, and I used to drink at least 4 bottles a day consistently and smoke God knows how many cigarettes. And I'm thinking about it now, I don't even know where all that money was coming from. But I was working at the time, and I had a good job. So, now fast forward to my current. So, I had been off drugs for maybe a few months before I met him, and I was really on the road to not wanting to mix myself up with anybody that did drugs. And so, we had originally met online. So, I decided he was in a halfway house, and we were deciding that we were going to get together. We were getting really serious, and we were going to do the damn thing. We were going to stay clean. We were going to stay sober, stay away from people who were doing drugs. He had a heroin problem, and one night he came home really stressed out from work, and he had quit his job. And at this point, I was also not working, but I still had a steady flow of money coming in. And we got some heroin and some crack, cocaine, and then it went downhill from there. We didn't lose the first apartment. We gave up the first apartment because we didn't want to have an eviction on our name. And then we got the apartment that we are in now, and we have been here and we have been clean since March 31st of 2017, I think. So, I am a high school graduate. I am a college graduate. I had several jobs that I made over $80,000 a year. And but the point is that I wanted to tell this story because drugs can creep into your life, and slightest little incident, and then before you know it, you're back calling that drug dealer, and you're back sacrificing your life, your soul, your happiness, your spirit, and your money to give to somebody else so that they can have a good life, and they can ruin yours. Okay? But you consciously make that decision to ruin your life. But the reason why I wanted to tell this story is because I did not come from the slums. I did some slummy ass, scummy ass shit, like prostitution for drugs, prostitution for a place to stay. I did other questionable things that I didn't mention, but I just wanted to get the gist of the story is that drugs can creep into your life if you're a doctor, if you're a lawyer, if you're a nurse, if you're a congressman, a president, a king, a queen, a prince, at any time. So I wanted to tell this story because I wanted to give you a timeline of my drug abuse and my attempt to recover, my several attempts to recover, and I'm in another attempt to recover. Part of that recovery in my mind is to tell the story and to be truthful to yourself and to other people in telling that story, because it is my story and it's never going to change. Whether I choose to tell somebody and make it public, or I choose to lock it up inside of my mind and push it to the recesses of my mind, it's still my story. I still did those things. And it's made me the person that I am today and current in the present. And we're always trying to live in the present. But those who plan for the future and those who work towards the future tend to be more successful than the people who live in the here and now. So I hope that this inspired someone, because if it just inspired one person, I've done an awesome job putting my secret out there. And my secret is my drug history and my several attempts to recover and get back to where I was. And I'm in that process once again of recovering and getting back to where I was. And it's even more difficult now than it was 5 years ago or even 8 years ago. So be careful about the choices that you make. Be careful about the people that are around you. Be careful about the Facebook messages that you answer from old connects, from old buddies that used to do drugs or drinking with you, because if you're trying to stay clean, you need to stay clear of all of that. Anything, any remnants of somebody who is still currently using or has access to those products is going to hurt you, because all it takes for a drug addict to relapse is a bad situation. And so obviously in life you're going to have bad situations, and you're going to have issues, and you're going to have complications, and you're going to have access to those people. If they're only a Facebook message away, if they're only a MySpace message away, if they're only a Grindr message away, if they're only a Meet Me message away, or whatever it is that you use away, you're gonna fall again, and you're gonna catch yourself doing the nastiest, grimiest, shittiest things to yourself and to other people. So if you want to live a good life, if you want to live a happy life, and that doesn't mean that you're gonna go from a drug addict, with a negative $3,000 bank account to a multimillionaire. I mean, more power to you if you do. But if you just want to live a good life, a happy life, have a place to stay, have the lights on, have food in your stomach, have nice clothes on, maybe have a car, maybe have a little bit of money saved up, maybe go on trips in the summer, you need to stay clear of all of those negative people and all of those negative paths, because I guarantee you that you're going to be making those choices again, and I guarantee you that you're going to be contacting them again the first sign of a problem, because that's what your mind is going to automatically, it's like on autopilot. It'll put itself on autopilot, and it'll check itself into drug addict mode. So I hope that you took my story time to heart, or dare I say enjoyed it, and I hope that you watch my next story time. I think my next story time, I'm going to tell you how it is that I became homeless, and why it is that I prostituted, because I only dabbled into it and told you it was about drugs and stuff like that, but I'm going to really get into what pushed me to it, because that is not in my personality. That's a really important story to tell, because there's a lesson to learn behind that too. And so I love you guys for watching. I love all of you guys that have stuck in there. I know that I've lost some subscribers because there was a big period of time where I didn't post anything, but I just feel like I don't want to post any stupid on YouTube, but I really wanted to post something that'll help people, even if it'll help one person or 12 people or 4 people or 2 people. But I wanted to post something serious with a real message behind it, with a real genuine urgency to help someone. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit that red subscribe button. Hit that bell button if you want to receive post notifications every time I upload a video. I love you guys. I love your comments. I always accept positive comments. I automatically delete the stupidest fucking comments because I just think they're bullshit and nobody needs to hear them, and it's my YouTube channel and I definitely won't deal with it. If you have any questions regarding alcoholism, alcohol addiction, drug addiction, I have both. I am an alcoholic and I am a drug addict, and I am in recovery for both things. And I don't consider myself an expert, but I definitely know what can lead you down that path. And I definitely know how to steer away from that. And I definitely believe in my heart that it is possible. It is possible to recover. Suboxone, Subutex, Vivitrol, Methadone, Methadose. There is an answer for everything. Each is different for everybody. If you have any questions, leave your comments down below. I will answer all of you. If I haven't answered you, I'm so sorry. I will definitely try to answer you, because I'm definitely trying to get all of these story times out. So I'm searching my mind, searching the back of my mind, so that I can bring all these stories, these traumatic stories that I have to light. And because I think that in one shape or another, it's going to help somebody out there. And oh my God, stay clear of all of the things that I did. So I love you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time.